Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. In June 2024, an alliance of social organisations launched a campaign to ban the highly controversial anti-establishment firm Alternative for Germany, or AfD, party, aiming to persuade a majority of Bundestag deputies to delegalize this party. These calls continue as German parliamentary elections loom later this year. The AfD, which is polling second in most surveys behind Merz's conservative bloc, is being monitored by German security services on suspicion of right-wing extremism. Is it constitutional to ban a political party in Germany? And what is the stance of the EU on this issue? Well, to unravel this thorny issue, we're joined by Bartłomiej Kot. He's Programme Director at Warsaw Security Forum and a regular contributor. Welcome back, TVP World, and thanks for taking the time, as always.
Lovely to be here.
So, I mean, there's so much going on. Now, one of the issues that's being discussed before the question of banning the AfD goes to the court is, the mainstream parties are concerned that by banning the AfD, they're going to raise its profile and therefore give it an even better chance at success if they're not banned before the election. What do you say to that?
Well, I'm a bit afraid that actually AfD is already a mainstream party as well here in Germany.
It's got 20% in the polling.
20% is nothing that you can actually call extreme when you look at the, not necessarily what they offer, but also the place they are on the political spectrum, on the political map.
Right.
This is already a mainstream party, also in terms that their calls for actions, their calls for certain legal bills to pass through the parliament were recently answered also by the mainstream parties. This was actually a part of the discussions that were taking place in Bundestag. The bill was passed actually.
So this is migration related.
Migration related,
right?
Yes, that's true. And a lot of actually what AfD is bringing to the table in Germany. Yes, that's the topic of migration, but not only. Also the question of course, the energy issues, etc., etc. This has already entered the mainstream politics in Germany, and I can only say that actually I'm supportive of the view that banning a party that actually is polling right now above 20% in the polls would not necessarily help to keep the mainstream political spectrum in Germany alive. It will rather actually boost the support of AfD and will bring a lot of questions to the table. How come that 20% of Germans will not have the possibility?
I want to talk about that in just a second, but before we get there, a couple of things that you said that were quite interesting. The first is that it's already in the mainstream, the AfD. Clearly its message is resonating with people. Is it something that the main parties, the CDU, for example, the Christian Democrats, or Scholz's coalition, should have picked up on and said something, done something about these policies themselves before allowing the AfD to take the stage?
Well, absolutely, I agree. I mean, it was visible that certain traits in the paradigm of the German state, because it's not only about politics. When you look at the policies, not politics, related to migration or to the energy supply to Germany, or actually the whole economy of Germany, there were a lot of question marks that you can actually try to find them somewhere in 2008 and policies that were conducted by Angela Merkel and of course a lot of criticism related to that since at least 2008.
Right.
And right now, after the full-scale invasion of Russia in Ukraine, all this actually came to the main table.
Right.
Put it that way.
Understood.
The truth is that AfD is gaining a lot of support because it is the answer of a lot of Germans to the failure of mainstream party politics. And this is actually considered to be also a vote against the mainstream of German politics.
Right, okay. So moving on now to the ban, the issue of the ban. Clearly the two sides of the argument are, well, we can't have party like this. And the other side says, well, constitutionally you can't ban it. What is the constitutional situation?
Well, since at least the end of the Second World War, the discussions around the fact whether the political parties can be banned because of the way they actually describe the reality. It is something which is actually not only a German story, but it's in every single European state. The same actually goes with the legal grounds for banning parties or societies that are opposing, for example, the issue of Holocaust, like so-called an Auschwitz lie here in Poland. This is also the case. The truth is that when the discussion is right now taking place, there is a lot of arguments that are served to the table from this strictly legal point of view. But the question is not legal, in my opinion. It is purely political question, because as in every single aspect, also right now actually closing the borders, for example, as a response to migration. The federal governments have been very creative in bringing actually the response to the table in terms of what kind of legal aspects that they can bring legal arguments. But in the end, it is and it will be the issue of the politics itself. Even if the AfD that way or the other, legally speaking, will be banned. This is 20% of the votes, and then you have also Sarah Wagenknecht alliance that will have to find its way somewhere,
right?
Under the new party or under the new society.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, even if it is banned, hypothetically speaking, these people aren't going to vanish. The ideas are not going to vanish overnight. Are you simply just kicking the can down the road and storing up problems that are going to appear in the future? I mean, what are the political options available to the other mainstream parties now?
But when you actually look what CDU and SPD is doing right now during this political campaign, and I'm talking about mainstream politicians, people who are literally either soon to be former Chancellor Scholz, or possibly a future Chancellor Merz. The policies they're offering right now, this is actually eyeing to the electorate of AfD. The discussion about migration, such as it is right now in Germany, it wouldn't have happened even couple of months ago.
Okay.
Right now, they see what is actually the results in the polls. They see that there could be actually a psychological change happening right now with CDU losing support below the threshold of 30%, and AfD actually gaining a lot of support, maybe even more than 20%. So they're actually trying to bring to the table the responses to the discussions that were all fluctuating around in German politics for years already.
For years. So
and that was actually AfD who was serving these ideas.
Right.
The question is, if you are doing things like that, whether the electorate will choose the original, or they will actually go to the mainstream politicians,
and they're open to the accusation that they switch sides, depending on which way the wind is blowing. Too little, too late, do you think, by Merz's CDU?
Still enough, and still in time to. On time to save the mainstream politics in Germany, at least in this electoral process. Not sure whether this will actually be enough to repeat that in years to come.
So a fundamental rethink, it sounds like, is necessary among the mainstream parties. Bartłomiej Kot, thank you, as always, for sharing your analysis.
Thank you.
And that's all from us in this episode of World Talks. Goodbye.